Hey, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. This is your host, Jim. I've got a couple great guests today, and this is one of those episodes where if you're typically just listening to the show on your favorite podcast listening app, it's one of those shows where you'll want to go to the show notes at silentjim.com/podcast and look for the YouTube link, because I've got Rich and Shelly Potter on the line today. We're actually hitting the video camera record, and crack me up. I met these guys like less than 2 minutes ago, which they can attest to. And Rich and I are wearing the exact same t-shirt. It's like we totally didn't plan it. I like, what in the world is going on here? Apparently we both shop at Kohl's. So that's pretty funny. So if you want to check that out, but just to see this great looking couple that's done some amazing things. And if I know their story right from the notes I got beforehand, like I said, we just met, but I think we just recently went full time, Rich, right?
Yeah. I just left my job last week.
Dude, that's awesome. What a great time to get you guys on the podcast. So I'm going to turn the microphone very quickly over to you. Tell us your story. I'm going to ask a few questions here and there, but I just can't wait to get to know you guys.
Okay, great. We're Rich and Shelly. We've been married 14 years. We got 3 girls. And I have been working in a sales job for the last 12 years. So it's the only job I've had since college, an incredible job. And what started us looking for other ways to make money was about 5.5 years ago. My largest account in my sales office, their company sold to a company in India. And I was worried that overnight, 75% of my income was just going to be gone. And so we started just kind of looking around, trying to figure out what we could do to make money. And we initially started looking at opening a gym, and we started doing a lot of research on that and discovered that it was going to be way too much money. And we just weren't in a position to do that. But in that discovery, we kind of found photo booths. So I came to her with the idea of starting up a photo booth rental company. And she, being the great wife she is, she jumped on board and we did it. So that was about 5 years ago that we launched our photo booth company.
So have we met at a previous event?
We have not been to any of the events yet.
Okay, no. Because there was someone with a photo booth at one of our events, and I thought maybe we had encountered each other. I wanted to be corrected if I was wrong there. So we haven't actually ever met, have we?
No, we've not. Nope.
Didn't think so. Okay.
Nope.
Wow. So let me ask you, Shelly, as Rich is telling that part of the story, how did that hit you? I mean, I remember 17 years ago when I came home and told my wife, I was working for Microsoft at the time, I'm unemployed now, and I think I'm going to take a shot at going full time. She was pregnant. How'd that hit Mom?
I don't know. He's always just been a go-getter, so it didn't really stress me out. I think he carries a lot of the stress for us, so I try and be more of the relaxed one. And so just kind of, it's going to work out, we'll figure this out, whatever. But when he said photo booth, I wasn't really sure. And he didn't mention this, but when we did get into the photo booth industry, our first experience with it, we bought a semi-franchise with a photo booth. It ended up being a scam.
No.
We lost how much?
We lost like 10 grand right out the gate.
Yeah. And so, most people would have just said, okay, we're just going to not touch that anymore. But we decided to rebrand and come out with our own photo booth company and try it again. So
we felt like it was the right idea. We just
went about it the wrong
messed
way.
up the first time.
I got you. Well, I know you guys have a successful Amazon business, and we'll get into that, but we're just covering the history right now. Tell me a little bit about that photo booth concept. I'm not even sure what we're talking about exactly right now.
Okay.
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay, so we just we take our photo booths to your event. So we do weddings, we do corporate events, basically any kind of party where you want to have a photo booth. Here in Arizona, they have them everywhere. Quinceañeras, sweet 16s, just pool parties, anything out here. So
I got you. So it's like a party rental game kind of thing almost.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just something for the guests to do.
That's cool. I got it. So I'm sure probably the vast majority of the females in the audience are like, duh, Jim. And the dudes are like, what's he talking about? Right. So yeah. Okay. I get it now. Yeah. Cause like my wife and kids love them. We can hardly walk past one, like at a mall or a movie theater or whatever. Right. But you just kind of set those up on site. I got it. So is that a business you guys are still doing?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's going great. We bought the one photo booth, and within 3 months, we bought a second, and we had hired a couple to help us run run events, and it's turned into a whole event business for us. She saw a YouTube video on bubble soccer.
Those big bubble suits you get in and hit each other with.
I
saw
love it. Yeah, of course.
Looks
So
really cool. So
she showed that to me, and she's like, "We should do this." And my first thought was, "No, I don't want to do that." And then I think I saw it pop up in my feed a week or two later, and I'm like, "Okay, this is cool. Let's do it."
Mhm.
So within, I think it was 3 or 4 months of starting the photo booth, we had added that on to our rental business.
I love it. I had a buddy of mine, actually, he's the one who runs the ministry in Detroit that we gave the proceeds to one of my books, the 101 Free Marketing, I think it's 101freemarketing.com. But he gets all the proceeds from that book, ran an inflatables business for a long time in Detroit and employed a lot of guys and helped get them out. It's a really neat, fun business model. And this isn't an episode about party rental businesses, but apparently you guys are more than capable of coming out with a course on the topic, in my opinion, based on what I'm hearing. So, hey, who knows?
Yeah.
But you guys so that's one income stream.
Yeah. So that was our first income stream, and we quickly paid everything off. It kind of turned out to where my job actually got better and better instead of going the other way. And so we just reinvested everything right into the business, paid everything off. And then it was about a year later, I was on Facebook, and an old high school buddy that I used to wrestle with had made a post that him and his brother were killing it on Amazon, selling FBA, and that his brother went through this launch course. You should go check it out. And so I did. Like, I started watching videos, and because I didn't know anything about FBA at all. Started watching all the videos, and we got really interested. Like, this is something we should do. And then it came to the very end, and we saw the price tag, and we're just like, oh, wow.
For those who aren't watching right now, Shelly just shook her head like very demonstrably, like, no. So it was one of those big pricey, big launch courses, which where a lot of us are very familiar with. Yeah. And you decided not to go that route, it sounds like.
Decided not to. And then Shelly just started doing some research.
Yeah, and I think we both were. We were just kind of looking at different avenues we can find information on it. And then I'm pretty sure it was you that stumbled across Pack.
Oh, that's funny, because I thought it was her.
Oh, well, I'll take the credit for it. I found Pack.
Good job, Shelly. Shelly gets the credit. Shelly for the win.
I don't remember finding it. I thought it was you.
Yeah,
one of us found you.
Yeah.
And then we bought the course and started going through the modules and stuff like that. And we really felt good about wholesale, and that's kind of where we went. We went out, we tried doing retail arbitrage a few times, and we got frustrated with it. We couldn't get it to click. But wholesale, in sales, I worked in distribution, and it was all about buying from the manufacturer and then selling to our customer. And it was something that I was just very familiar with. And so that's the direction we went with our Amazon business.
Now, so you guys purchased the Proven Amazon course. How long ago? That's a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
At this point?
That would have been like October of 16. October of 16. Yeah, 2016.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's been a good while back, and you started off with the retail arbitrage, buying and flipping from retail stores. Didn't quite resonate with you. So you got into wholesale. Yep. And so take us through your journey the past 3 years. Like, what are some highlights, lowlights? Did it ever get scary? At what point did you feel like you were really on to something? And talk us through the journey a little bit.
So we you want to talk about the Shark Tank thing?
Sure. Yeah, we were sitting on the couch one night. We were watching Shark Tank because I love that show.
Decent show, yeah.
And we saw a product come on, and right away I'm like, I'm gonna Google that. I'm gonna Google that company and see if they will allow an Amazon seller. And that's how we found our first product.
That was our first product
on
right there.
Shark Tank.
Yep.
No way. So are you guys the only Amazon seller of that product?
So we don't sell them anymore. It's been about a year ago they locked everybody out. But we sold them for a couple of years.
It got us started, that's for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Were there other sellers even at the beginning, or were you guys it?
There was
It was
one,
us and one other one.
other one.
Yep. Yeah, there was 2 of us for a long time.
And that was just a year ago, right?
So that would have been Q4 of 2016.
Okay. A couple years plus.
Yep.
It amazes me the number of ideas that are just laying out there right under our noses.
Mm-hmm.
And how many millions of people watch the show Shark Tank? How many thousands of them probably have an Amazon FBA business?
Yeah.
But you guys actually picked up the phone. Actually, you picked up Google
So,
and asked a question. Was it a complicated process, complex? Did they make you jump through hoops, or did they say, "Hey, yeah, you want to place an order"? Like, what was it like?
super easy. They had no problem with it at all. They're like, okay,
Send us a
how many
price
do you
list
want?
and,
Yeah.
How many you want? So Shark Tank and all the big all the big advertisers that sponsor that show basically advertised your product for you.
Absolutely.
Oh, every time it re-aired, we had an influx of sales. It was
Exactly.
awesome.
Oh, I love it when the major brands do my advertising for me. That's pretty cool. Yeah, what a great idea. And I think as people listen to this, they're going to kick themselves going, oh, I could have done that. I could so be doing that. And it's true. You so could. And something else too, this is a good point of education right now. We'll give you guys a break from the story, gather your thoughts here. We'll keep it rocking in a second. But even if there are multiple sellers, we've had episodes of this podcast lately where, let's say you get into a product, it's an interesting product, it's got a lot of traction and traffic, and maybe they had, let's say, 30 sellers, 40 sellers. And you're like, man, we're all just racing to the bottom. That's a golden opportunity too, because you can contact the manufacturer and say, hey, I'm going to propose that you have one seller, because I know these sellers are all beating each other up. Here's the plan. Let's get you your own Amazon account. I'll manage it. You get the checks from Amazon. All I want is a percentage. I can manage the whole thing. I belong to a community of people that live, eat, breathe, sleep marketing on Amazon, one of the premier communities in the world for this stuff. Let me take a shot at this and solve some of your headaches while selling more than you ever imagined. Most of the time, and when I say most, I'm talking like better than 50% of the time, if you pitch that to a hot product, you're going to get a phone call and you're going to have a conversation and you're going to have an opportunity. So if there's only a few sellers, that's great. If there's a bunch of sellers, that's great. There's always a path forward here. So just a little side lesson in encouraging people to look into these opportunities, which are literally everywhere. I mean, you can just kind of be chilling on the couch, watching TV, eating some popcorn, and have ideas drop in your lap with this business. I love it. All right. So keep the story going. So you found a first hot wholesale product, got you excited.
Yeah, and then right away, Shelly found another one. It was a Facebook ad.
I was on Facebook. Right? I saw this product and I looked at it and I'm like, that's really cool. Clicked on it. It's nothing I would have been interested in. I don't know why it was on my Facebook page, but clicked on it and ended up being a really big seller for us until what you just talked about. Someone else came in
beat us to the punch
and beat us at having exclusivity with that company.
So they went and actually proposed exclusivity. You guys were just a buyer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They proposed partner.
Yep. Yeah.
So we were so new. We didn't know.
Sure.
Yeah. We had 2 really good Q4s with that product.
Yeah.
And then we got locked out after that.
Tell me as much as you can about that product. I mean, specific or just general category.
Sure, we can't sell it anymore. Nobody can sell it anymore.
But it was a beanie with an LED light built into it. And so it was, for workers and things like that. People work on outside in the dark, needed an LED light.
Gotcha.
So
something we probably could have looked into private labranding, but
possibly sounds like something you could have, with the right keywords.
Yep.
And a good way to know there, was that a brand driven product, or was it?
I mean, it wasn't a brand that we had ever heard of, but they're a pretty big brand. Yeah. So
gotcha.
I mean, they do have patents and stuff like that you'd have to.
I can't even remember the brand.
And the reason I ask is, with some keyword testing, this is our PPI strategy in the Proven Amazon course. We teach this strategy where you can go in and test and see. Amazon's not going to tell you how many people type certain keywords every day. They just won't. They hold on to that data. No one knows that data. All the tools out there are just guessing at that data. They don't say a word to anybody unless you run an ad. And I love this product as a specific lesson here, because I would like to know, and maybe it's still worth even going back and doing, although, there's a billion products where this holds true. Nothing special about this one in particular. But I would like to know, was it the keyword that was driving the traffic, or was it the LED beanie, or, just the word beanie? What was driving the traffic? Because if it wasn't the keyword of the brand that's driving the traffic, then yes, absolutely. There's a private label opportunity there, because you could call it Rich and Shelley's beanie LED, have a manufacturer make them for you, and that the magic keywords are beanie and LED, not
No,
the manufacturer's name, right? So that means that's what we call the golden gaps, is those places where people are using generic search phrases to look for products where there's either not enough options out there or there's no options out there. And that's how you discover them. And if it's tied to, however, if it's like a Nike LED beanie, well, and Nike's the keyword that's getting all the hot action, right? There's not as much opportunity there. So this is a little side lesson. PPI is one of the modules in the Proven Amazon course. Have you guys gone through that by any chance?
We purchased it and then we got busy.
It's one of the free modules inside there. Just at some point, the level your guys' business is at, which we're going to get to in the story for those who are excited to hear the next chapter of the story. But at the level you guys are at, I would venture to guess, and especially the business model you've used, that there's a good handful of pretty incredible private label opportunities in the products that you've created, to where you could lock down the audience a little tighter and even get some off Amazon momentum going as well, because of some of the great keywords that are hidden. And so it'd be worth your time to spend an hour or two in the PPI just to start thinking that way. It's just a matter of running a couple of reports, and you guys probably have some gold sitting right in your recently sold inventory. But well, let's keep the story going. I want to hear more about what happened next. You had a couple home runs.
Yeah, a couple home runs. We did about, I think, 40, I want to say $45,000, $50,000 those first 2 months. So, which happened to be November, December. They were, great Q4 months.
Yeah, pumps you up a little bit.
So yeah, so after those, I really started diving into that wholesale course and just learning how to just reach out to different brands and ask if we can sell their stuff on Amazon. And we 2016, trying to make sure I got the years right, because we did 50,000 the first 2 months, and it was about 350,000 the next year. So we found several great products and just exploded. And then it might be 2015, Jim. Honestly, we started. So it would have been 2015 where we had November, December. 2016 we did 350,000, and then 2017 we hit $1 million.
You hit $1 million in sales. At what point did you hit the magic number? I imagine it was a big day.
Dude, it was right at the end of the year. We ended up with $1,010,000 for the whole year.
No way.
So
that's beautiful.
It was the last 2 or 3 days of the year that we
Have you got that screenshot? Did you save it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Awesome. Maybe we can post it with this episode as a little evidence for people. Blot out any personal info there, but that's beautiful. Congratulations. Okay. So that takes us up through the start of this year. Where are we at?
So yeah, 350, 2015. I'm sorry, 50, 2015, 350, 2016, 2017, 1 million, 2018, we were just shy of $1 million. So we actually went backwards about $40,000.
We lost a couple
lost a few lines, and we got busy with other things, and so that growth just we just kind of stagnated a little bit for about a year. And then so this year we decided in April that we really wanted to start hitting it hard. I wanted to get out of my job, and we decided the best thing for us was to get a warehouse. And
let me just interject for a second.
Yeah, Shelley, fill in some gaps.
One of the reasons why we did decide to get a warehouse was I was absolutely losing my mind with the boxes. I mean, we would have guests over and we'd have to just shove all the boxes. My garage was constantly full. I had employees working in this Arizona heat in my garage trying to label.
Yeah.
And have my UPS and my semis coming down my neighborhood. My neighbors were hating life. And so I think that was a big part of it. I was telling him, we have to get these boxes out of here. I need my house back.
Yeah, I love that. That is the journey of online selling. I can't help but smile. I mean, hopefully you took some pictures of that chapter
Yes. Oh yeah. I
because
think I put on Instagram several times.
someday you guys are going to sell this company for $50 million, and that's going to be an old picture hanging on the wall the third owner is going to have over his desk, and it's just going to be like, yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah.
It's
100 boxes showed up and are sitting in the courtyard.
Yeah. Yeah. Someday one of your daughters will be president of that company with a picture of a garage full of boxes saying, I was there.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's great.
and I was at work all day, so I didn't see a lot of that side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of took lead in the sourcing and the purchasing, and Shelly took everything else, and she was managing the employees and the prepping and getting it all into Amazon and stuff. So I would order all the stuff and get it here, and then she would have to deal with all the boxes.
Wow. So what's your team look like now?
So it's the three of us. It's me, her, and then we have a guy that works in our warehouse, probably about anywhere, depending on the week, 25 to 35 hours a week for us.
Okay.
So he helps prep the shipments. He helps with a lot of different tasks now.
He's kind of a golden boy, so he's awesome. We really lucked out, I think.
That's awesome.
He helps with photo booths and the bubble soccer.
So he's involved with all of it.
Oh yeah.
So you still got the party business rocking?
Yeah.
Party rental?
Yep. So we signed a lease on our little, it's like 1,000 square foot space in May. And, and then we had Richard come in, he was maybe 10, 15 hours a week at most, right?
Yeah.
And then we got the warehouse. We're like, dude, we need you 30 hours a week.
He quit his other job.
Quit his job and came to work for us semi part-time. And we've been rocking and rolling since then. And so we took on those two extra big costs, the warehouse and him, and we decided that we really needed to hit it. And it was a push we needed.
Yeah.
We grew 30% in the next 45 days.
Okay, so we're just talking here in the past few months. I love this story. You guys aren't digging back very far into the past at this point. You got a warehouse. Rich quit his job that you've been doing for a long time, and you said the numbers were ramping up, so that was a pretty big decision, right?
Yeah, it was a good job. I was doing six figures, and they treated me real well, and so it was a big decision to walk away from that.
So how are you? What are we just a couple weeks on the other side of that decision? How's it settled in?
It's good. Like it's good and it's different for sure. Like
he's had some anxiety moments.
Yeah, it's weird for me, like waking up and not having my whole day laid out for me and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Trying to get a schedule together and a part of our story is we now have the gym, and so now I'm trying to figure that out too. So.
Wow. So you guys have the gym going too.
Yeah. So we just took ownership of the gym 2 days ago.
Oh, that's great. For those who are just listening to this episode, I got to say it's kind of priceless watching these two interact. And Shelly's like, he's had some anxiety moments. You guys are so cute. I love it. You've got to watch this video. But yeah, I mean, I love how raw this is. Like you guys are right in the middle, but you're positioned so incredibly well. Arguably any one of the three businesses that you guys have up and rocking right now could just be so huge and sustain. I mean, we already know the numbers behind your Amazon business. What we haven't hit yet is the margins, which I'd be curious to know, approximately what margins we're talking about. I have a pretty decent guess just based on my knowledge of the industry, but where are you guys at?
Yeah. So gross margins about 13.5, 14%. We're netting right around 10.5. So, it's a lot slimmer than retail arbitrage, than private label, but it works for us.
Yeah. And like I said before, even knowing those numbers now, yeah, you guys, there's no reason you couldn't get that up to 20, 25 or 30 with some private label product. And you're even positioned really well to maybe move to some Shopify action where the margins are phenomenal. You got your own website, which is something we're getting excited about around here more and more all the time. Because, Amazon likes their 30% of the cut. You don't have to pay that if you're doing it through your own website. So there's some options there. You guys have a lot of irons in the fire. I mean, what's the reality look like around there? I know now you're full time. Do you feel like you're kind of breathing fresh air now, or is it kind of like busier than ever?
Well, it's really busy right now. We've just taken over the gym 2 days ago. So, I'm trying to figure that out. So Shelly's kind of taken over the reins for the event business and even the Amazon business. And I'm going to focus on the gym for the next 3 to 6 months and get that up and running to where I can hire a manager and then
Give it a shot.
yeah.
How are you advertising for this? We're kind of going all over the place, but that's kind of the reality of your entrepreneurial journey. So I'm going to ask you some questions about how you're marketing the gym. What are your plans there?
I think we're going to do a lot of Facebook and Instagram.
Good.
It's where the market is for sure.
Yep.
So yeah.
Have you looked at the Proven Audience Formula course? I'll get you guys a copy of it if you haven't yet.
I've watched the first video. I haven't gotten too far into it, but we have access to it. We do have it. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm going through that.
You'll enjoy that. That's basically our, and we're coming out with version 2.0 soon. I'll get you guys that access because you were awesome guests too. We've learned a lot since that first one came out. The Proven Audience Formula is beautiful, but it's about to become provenaudienceformula.com 2.0 because we've learned even more. And we feel like we've got some things now that don't require your ability to generate viral videos in order to make it work really well. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Very cool.
Yeah, the power of pictures, man. I could kind of sum it up, just getting the right pictures in front of the right people. Man, you could do some powerful things that way, especially local marketing with a gym. That could really blow up. So you guys are sitting on 3 pretty incredible assets.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be pretty encouraging for people today to hear like, okay, wow, and you've got 3 kids, which I wouldn't mind hearing how that integrates in. Like, what are their ages? We haven't hit that. Like, do they have a role in all this? What's their impression of mom and dad's reality? Well, I'm sure they love dad's around more. They've noticed that probably, right?
Yeah, they love that I'm there in the morning when they get up and get them ready for school and stuff.
Yeah.
How old are they?
So we have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old. She's tall, so sometimes we think she's a little older, and a 4-year-old. And so all girls, and they're busy and awesome kids. I think we really lucked out with just pretty easy, chill kids. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
The 9-year-old pays attention to what we're doing too. Like she's always wanting to.
She's
sell
entrepreneurially wired
Yep.
for sure. She would. That was just last year. I think she started drawing some pictures, and she went out on her bike with her friend and didn't even tell me that she was going and selling her pictures to our neighbors.
That's
she
beautiful.
came home, I think, with what, like $20-$30. And I mean, she's just constantly trying to think of things. Right now she's writing a book. So
reminds me of that book, Real Artists Don't Starve. No such thing as starving artists, right?
no.
She cracked the code that there's people who go to college for 5 years never figured out.
Yeah, she's
oh, that's great.
But and she's helped me label before, simple things that her and her friend wanted to earn some money, and so I said, okay, stick some labels on here, and so she's helped with the business here and there. And
man, that you're giving your girls a great gift to see the cooperation between mom and dad, running a business, serving others, making life about serving others, and the benefits that come with it. That's beautiful. Kudos, guys. That's phenomenal. Well, let me ask you this question. I like to ask these questions. And again, I just met Rich and Shelly along with, the folks who are meeting them today. Basically, we've never had a conversation before. I'm getting to know them. But I like to ask our successful online sellers specifically, because I doubt we have many people here today going, I've been wanting to start an inflatables party business. But for those of us who are talking about Amazon, what might you say? What encouragement might you give to someone who's either early in the game or maybe they're looking to grow? Like, be the coaches for a second. Encourage us. Talk to us. What's the reality of this business?
Well, I think, there's so much out there that the potential is just it's unlimited, really. And I think it's just important to just get started. I think it is, as it relates to us and wholesale, you can't get discouraged. I think most people are going to tell you no, but it's a numbers game. So just you just contact as many as you can, and that 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 30, whatever it is, it makes it all worth it. So that's my encouragement with wholesale is there's lots of companies that need our help, that want our help. Even though you submit those first 10 and they all say no, just keep going, because there's a lot out there that would love our help on
I
it.
love the point you're making there, and I want to hear from you, Shelly. I think you've got something you want to say too. But before we get away from what Rich just said, I'm curious. You were in sales before that last job you had, correct?
Yeah.
What was your yes to no ratio there? Because all good salespeople kind of get that boiled down. Like, what were you used to, accustomed to there?
Yeah, so my accounts is all business to business. So I managed 5 accounts there.
It was more big account management versus
It was
calling on new clients.
account management. But
Okay.
we had huge competitors, and I'd say like in the total spend of our customers, I mean, we were still probably only 10-15%. But
Right. Right.
it's just getting out there, just always asking for that sell.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making is anyone with any kind of sales background will tell you. It's like, yeah, you're going to hear the word no a lot. You kind of need to get used to it. Stop having your feelings hurt. And the faster you can get to a no, the better. A genuine no. Sometimes a no means wait. No means maybe. No means later. And sometimes it actually means no. And the quickest you can get to that point and where you know which it is, the better, right? But in the wholesale calling, yeah, it's just, you're going to hear 10, 20 no's. And then you're going to hear, yeah, let's do it. Let's make some money together. It's just a numbers game. So I love that you've reduced it down very quickly and instinctually, because I know we've had people go through the wholesale training that's inside the Proven Amazon course, and maybe they'll call on 4 or 5 or 8 companies and get no's and like, this doesn't work. You can't quit that fast.
Yeah.
So I love that you emphasized that point. Good stuff. Shelly, what you have on your mind? What lessons might you teach the reality of this business and encouraging folks?
Well, I mean, we have so many people ask us, how do I get into it, and how have you guys gotten success? And the first thing I'll tell them is, once you start learning and you start to ask those questions and you're reaching out to these people, you're going to hit so many brick walls, and most people will just walk away. They're like, it's too hard. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't get through these walls. I said, you just have to break through them and find a way to get through them. I know when I first started listening to PAC and trying to learn just FBA and how it all worked, it was so much information, and my brain, trying to be a mom and trying to be a wife and trying to do all of these other things and trying to focus on this, I for 2-3 days I would step away from it, and I would try and process it. So a lot of the times I wouldn't even think about it. And then I would revisit, rewatch those videos, rewatch those tutorials, and then they would start to click. And so for me, that was one of the hardest parts, was just because I didn't want to irritate Amazon trying to like send my stuff in. That was one of the scary things for me. I didn't want to mess anything up and ruin our relationship. And, because I've heard those horror stories where you send those products in the wrong way and they shut you down. And so I'm like, I don't want to be the one to have everything be shut down. And so that was really important for me to make sure I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing and sending it in the correct way. So anyways, that's what I tell people. Just if you get frustrated, and you will get frustrated, just step away, go get go out to dinner, or have a, just step away for a minute and then revisit it later. But just don't give up.
That's great. That's great advice. What part of it, I'm curious, and this is, maybe I'll set this question up this way. As one of the leading organizations that teaches new sellers or even online entrepreneurs coming from any possible background, how to begin selling successfully on Amazon, and this is a question, I'm about to ask you a question, Shelly, that Amazon actually asked us, because they struggle with the same thing. Amazon has a large team at their corporate headquarters that's in charge of onboarding new sellers. They want more sellers. They want them to have a good experience. They want them to have a smooth transition into being profitable and not have all these brick walls that you're talking about. And they were asking us for advice because we're really good at moving people through that process. But I'm curious, this is still fresh enough to you. I've been selling stuff online for 17 years. I wake up with this stuff processing in my brain if I like it or not, but it's still fairly fresh. Like, what were some of those brick walls you hit? Does anything stand out, or was it more just an overwhelming wave of information that you had to process? Be as specific as you can. If anything comes back to mind, I'm just curious, where were those points where you were nervous or confused, if you recall?
I think honestly it was more so of the overwhelming amount of information that I was trying to consume. But I think a lot of it was, what if I put the label on the wrong part of the box, or, and thinking back on it, it was so insignificant.
Right.
Amazon's not going to shut you down for not putting the label on or not covering a barcode, or, you know what I mean? And so, I honestly, I don't know if I can pinpoint. I think it was just so much information, and so it was
maybe
scary.
a fear of the unknown.
Yes.
A little bit, right?
And I don't like not knowing how to do something.
Yeah.
I'd like to learn it within 5 minutes if I can.
I hear you. And, let me just make a point of emphasis here that if there's someone listening, they're like, yeah, I can relate to that. Like, where does the label go? How do I make sure I'm using the right label? Those are the kind of questions that we're more than happy to answer in our Facebook group. We've got 52,000 plus people, and great people like Shelly and Rich hanging out in there, from all over the world. So there's no situation you're going to run into that a few thousand of us haven't seen before, odds are. And we're here to help, and we're here to encourage and say, yeah, just slap that sticker anywhere. Yeah, it doesn't matter if the corner's torn. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you use, instead of clear duct tape, you use a clear box tape, you use a different kind of box tape. No one cares. Those kind of silly questions that might really tie somebody up and like, I don't want to mess this up. Hey, just ask. We're here to help. That's one of the things I love about our community is we've always got new people coming in, and then we got 8-figure sellers in there hanging out, learning and growing together. So I appreciate your transparency there, Shelly. That's cool. Well, any other things you guys want to share with some of the listeners today that from your journey, any kind of encouragement or any other specific, if let's say a buddy from high school called you up and like, hey, is this legit? Like, what would you tell them? What's your encouragement? Is the opportunity still there? Spend a couple minutes on that. Either one of you. It's kind of tossing the ball to either one of you to run with.
Right.
Me? Oh, yeah. I just say, I tell everybody just go for it. I mean, what's it really going to hurt if you just take that risk, if it even is a risk? Don't let fear of the unknown stop you from doing something what could be amazing. We should have opened up a warehouse a long time ago, but we were so scared to do it and pull that trigger that, we could have been where we are now last year. Yep. So just pull that trigger.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, just take action. I felt we were stalled out in our business for a little over a year. And when we started looking at it, we realized like we had employees that were helping us boxing and prepping shipments, but we didn't have anyone focused on the income generating side of it.
Growing.
Right. And on growth. So we kind of refocused Richard into helping us source, and then we'd get to the boxes when they came in. We'd get to all that stuff, but we started having someone always focus on growth. And, just an example, and I think we were forced into it with the lease, right? The lease and the employee were like, we got to do this now. And so we started hitting the sourcing hard. And June of 2018, we did 65,000 that year, right? June of 2019, we did 120, and it was just because of our sourcing efforts just the last few months of just getting refocused and just focused on growth. And, because if we're not growing and add lines, we're always like losing lines, or lines become, the race to the bottom. You always hear about that. And so we'd have to drop lines, and if we're not growing, we're shrinking. And so, focus on growth is.
That's right. I love a point that you just made there, because I get frequently asked, you guys, this is you guys a couple of years ago. At what point did you hire? His name's Richard, right?
Richard. Yeah.
At what point did you hire him? How long ago?
She's been helping us for 2 years.
Couple years?
I think Amazon's been about a year.
Okay. Well, he's been
With
yeah,
Amazon?
he's been helping us
So
with other things.
the
but-
reason I ask is at the point where you guys were considering hiring him, if you'd have come to me and said, okay, we're thinking about hiring somebody. Are we ready to do that? I said, absolutely. You should have done it a long time ago. And you say, okay, what role should we give him? And you stumbled into the right answer over time. I love where your instincts drifted, because a lot of people, they'll hear me say, only do the stuff that only you can do. And they think that means their first hire is someone to put tape on boxes, or someone to run boxes to the warehouse, or, the menial stuff. They think that's what I'm saying. But your first hire needs to be someone who generates the income to allow you to begin hiring those people to put tape on boxes. So you're going to be wearing all the hats until you find somebody else that can learn the systems that you're running that generate income. You want other income producing employees, assets, partners, and then you can begin doing the stuff that only you can do. And that holds true for the gym. That holds true for the party rental business. This is classic business advice. This is timeless, thousands of year old, ancient Jewish wisdom about how to run a business. Your first hire is someone that produces more income. And then you begin relieving yourself of those repetitive, menial, tedious tasks, right? So it only makes sense. And you guys kind of stumbled there into that. So you've got Richard actually generating income at this point, finding new sources. You went from 65,000 one year in June, middle of summer, which some people would say is the slow season, to 120,000 the next June, because Richard's out there actually generating income, was what I heard you say, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Beautiful.
there were other things that played into that.
Oh, of course.
I feel the warehouse has really helped us. We get a lot more yeses now because we have a commercial address. Yeah. That's definitely, it's not for everybody, but it's been magic for us. So
that's a great point. And that's something I still do to this day strategically. Have a very business looking address. If we're dealing with a supplier, you want them to be able to pull you up on Google Maps, and they're not seeing a neighborhood. They're seeing that looks like a retail district.
Yep.
And,
absolutely.
One of the tips that we use, you can get those office rental. I contracted with an office rental space, and I was one of their first tenants when they first opened. And I negotiated a deal where I could have an address there in a suite that doesn't exist. It's a 2-story building, and I'm suite 600 on the 6th floor. But they collect my mail for me for $50 a month, and it's a very legitimate looking, awesome address that gets me past that hurdle. So there's creative solutions out there. You don't want to use like a UPS store box, because everyone knows what those are if they're able to do a little research. But man, it looks legit to have a suite 600, and they pull it up and there's an office looking suite, right? So that's just a little creative solution. If you want to get a business address, there's creative solutions out there.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Done.
don't be afraid, like with Richard, like don't be afraid of training future competition, right? Like I think a lot of people like don't hire people in strategic spots because they're afraid that they're just going to learn it and leave. And, I would love for Richard to open up his own Amazon account and have some success. And we're talking about that, and I'm kind of coaching him through it now too. But if he does, if he leaves, we'll train someone else, and I'll be happy for Richard. But in everything we've done, we've never had anyone leave us and compete with us, and so don't be worried about that either.
No, you can't spend your time worrying about that. I completely agree. And there's nothing wrong with a non-compete. Hey, for 1 year you won't sell anything online, physical product, because we're going to teach you some proprietary stuff. Have them sign a non-compete. But ultimately they can ignore that, and you're probably not going to lawyer up and fight it in court. But yeah, you've got to train other people. Don't try to wear all those hats. It'll wear you out. I've seen a lot of people burn themselves out.
Yeah.
Rarely does someone last 10 years doing it all himself.
Oh, absolutely.
I can think of very few exceptions.
Yep.
Where they've got some decent numbers and they're doing it all themselves. You've got to bring in help. You've got to train people, trust them, take that risk. Because a lot of times it's not just a matter of you choosing when the right time is. Life's going to throw some curveballs. Baby number 4 might be a rough pregnancy on mom, right? You could be down for 6 months, because of an injury or something, right? Like, what's the plan? That's why having a team becomes super important. You've got 2 or 3 Richards now, and, the business is growing. You got other people that can fill these roles. It's almost thinking of it like almost a disaster plan. It's how we've been forced to think of it. And when we had our house fire a couple of years ago, I was thrown into that. And we had a good deal of preparation, but I don't think anything prepares you for like, you know what, I'm going to be kind of unavailable for 6 months, guys. That takes a good team. So this is just encouraging those whose businesses are growing, start thinking team sooner rather than later, even if it's piecing together some part-time people helping you out with tasks here and there. Ideally, your first one's generating income. Man, this is great conversation, guys. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am, listeners, and Rich and Shelly too, man. Just appreciate you guys being on here. As we start to wrap this one up, man, any last words of encouragement or parts of the story you want to get out there before we wrap it up?
I think we've covered it pretty well. Yeah. I mean, I really liked your comment about avoiding burnout, getting people around you. I mean, we had just this last spring, we had one of our major competitors in the bubble soccer arena who just burned out. Like he was legit like beating us. He was doing more events than us.
Awesome guy.
Great. And he's a great friend of ours. Mm-hmm. But he was doing everything himself, and he burned out and closed shop because he just couldn't do it anymore. And because we had employees running all of our events and we weren't burning ourselves out, now we're the beneficiaries of him closing his doors.
We've outlasted everybody else that burned themselves out.
Wow. That is a classic example of one of the best children's books ever written. Do you know which one I'm going to say?
Sounds like that tortoise in the hare.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Have you heard me tell that story about Dave Ramsey meeting the billionaire?
I don't think so.
Dave Ramsey tells the story. I was at a mastermind event with him, and he's telling us, he said, I had a chance to meet a billionaire. If you ever have a chance to meet a billionaire, you want to have some good questions ready. And he said, my question for him was, give me some great books to have my team read that maybe I'm not familiar with, or maybe that I haven't heard of. Like, what books have really influenced you beyond the obvious? And he said, well, I keep several boxes of that exact book behind my desk for when people ask that question. I just give them a box of the books. And the book was The Tortoise and the Hare, the kids' book. He's like, everyone on your team needs to read, understand, and embrace these concepts. Tortoise and the Hare. Isn't that cool?
That's great. Yeah.
That was the billionaire's book recommendation to Dave Ramsey. But yeah, so we apply slow and steady around here all the time. Yeah. Don't be in such a rush that you make big mistakes and get distracted and you're all over the place. The entrepreneur's journey is a long, slow, steady progress. It's not a snapshot. It's a long play video. And you guys are on a great path. I'm super excited. I just hope you don't forget about us when you're like, have your own TV show and you're all famous and advising people on how to launch their own businesses while running a healthy family. I mean, you guys are just set up to do some really cool things. So yeah, I appreciate you being on the show today. It's truly an honor to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, it's great.
And let me just talk to the listeners and the viewers today. Hey, God bless you guys. We call you business building warriors because it's not an easy journey, as you've heard. There's been ups and downs, and I'm sure if we gave Rich and Shelly another hour, they could share 10 times that they cried together in the last 4 years about something. This building a business isn't easy, but man, there's nothing like it. Rich walked away from a 6-figure job to do this, to be home with his wife and his daughters and build something special, and they're doing it. They're making it happen. And I think they'd be the first to tell you it's not because they're necessarily any smarter than the rest of us. They're just committed to the process. They're working it out. They're doing it. They hit a speed bump or a brick wall, as Shelly said. They figure it out. And we've got a community of 52,000 people that are there to support you in our free Facebook group, if that's you watching today. One other thing I want to point out too, Rich and Shelly, before I wind down, I forgot to mention, you guys made an awesome post in our Facebook group. That's what led to this podcast episode. Thank you for that. I'll stick a link to that in the show notes as well, so you can kind of see how we first heard of the success that these guys were having. We knew that they were students of the Proven Amazon course, but I'd never heard a story from them. So appreciate you guys making that post, because it's going to encourage and quite possibly lead to another interesting income stream for you guys as you become leaders in our community. As a result of this, you're going to see some gaps maybe in our educational content, help us fill those gaps, maybe get you on stage, educating, entertaining others, and who knows where we'll go from there, right? But God bless the listeners today. Again, thank you, Rich and Shelly. Awesome hanging out with you today, and we'll do another episode real soon.